Interesting comments by Spotify. They are trying to get ahead of the market. And when they mentioned that they're competing with hardware companies, they also spoke about competing with Tesla. I want to talk about this in today's episode because it's an interesting case study of how software, entertainment, hardware, how all these things get together. And when you look at it from different perspectives, I think you can learn quite a bit. So you look at it from a Tesla perspective, or you look at it from an Apple perspective, or a Spotify perspective, and you see different vectors playing, and it helps. I think it helps us kind of trying to see where this whole market is going. This is Not Even Wrong podcast.
It's February 8th.
2022. This is Krim Delco. For the day, the fund is up roughly 40 basis points. The market is up 40 basis points. For the year, we are down 16.5%. The market is down 5.3%. We're underperforming by 11.2%. The topic of this episode is the competition between a company like Spotify and Tesla. Let's just focus on this particular case study. So Spotify is a streaming service. They have music, they have podcasts, they have other things on this service. You can subscribe and then listen to these things, particularly the music side of things. And the value proposition of Spotify is that you have everything in one place, that you can pay a certain amount of money and then listen to pretty much anything you want, that you can also, I think, pick what you want to listen, which is important. So this is not the kind of service where it's kind of like a radio thing, and this has to do with licensing and rights and all that stuff. So it's literally, you can do your own playlists. And of course, the biggest value proposition that they think they can offer is the AI side of things, which I think is, at this point, still a little bit of snake oil, because you listen to a song by Metallica and then they recommend 15 other heavy metal songs to you and all that stuff. It's just it's very difficult to do. Netflix has been trying to do it with movies. I think recommending entertainment is still not solved, and we're still in the early days. I think Amazon started with this way back when they started their book business and said we can recommend and I think it was called something correlation prediction or something like that. So basically, if you like this book, then other people who read this book liked another book, so you might like this book and all that stuff. I don't think it's working. I think it's working in a sense that people are undecided in the first place. So if you recommend them something, they end up watching something, but it's not good in a sense that they just take over the burden of decision making. They don't really help you find what you want. So in that sense, I think it's not very good. Anyway, long story short, Spotify's in the streaming business. Now, they said that when they had this whole Joe Rogan controversy, which is still happening, they said that the reason they signed on people like Joe Rogan is because they want to have leverage against hardware companies. And when they said hardware companies, they, of course, meant Apple and also Tesla. They mentioned Tesla, which I thought was an interesting comment because I didn't see Tesla competing with Spotify. So let's talk about this a little bit. Let's think about what does this actually mean. So Tesla, of course, is in the business of selling, right now, still in the business of selling electric cars. I would say in the future, Tesla is in the business of providing transportation services. And if we think about it that way, of course, then we can see where those two vectors overlap. Because in the transportation service business, entertainment becomes a much bigger part of the equation. You can see that, for example, in the airline business, where you start thinking, even today, as bad as airlines are, as bad as all the experiences are in the airport and all that stuff, you're still, at least with one little shred of your mind, you're thinking of the entertainment services that are provided on the flight. And of course, airlines being airlines, they could do a much, much better job on that front. They're not doing a better job. So in that sense, let's get back to Tesla. Let's forget airlines. All I'm saying is that when you're in the transportation service business, of course, you're in the business of trying to overlap time A to time B, and that brings in entertainment. So in that sense, we can see where the overlap is. Now, from a Tesla perspective, of course, there's the question, okay, listen, I'm providing transportation services. Somebody else is very good at entertainment. Why don't I just take that somebody else and let them do it? That has been sort of, I would say, the school of thought back in the day. If you went to business school in the 80s and 90s, core competency was a big deal and all that stuff. I think these things are changing today. And I think it's changing because of the software, it's the world concept, which is you are actually able to provide a lot of things yourself, because a lot of the problems that you're solving are software problems. They're not really, let's say, entertainment problems or that kind of thing. What does that really mean? It means that, of course, Tesla is not going into the business of producing music themselves, but Tesla could be entering the business of providing streaming services to its customers, because the streaming service part of the music business is a software problem. It's not a music problem. The music is just bits. And once you have the bits, the question of how you provide the bits to a person at the right time, in the right place, that's a software problem. And in that sense, that's why Tesla is competing with Spotify. I think that's why Apple is competing with Spotify, and that's why Netflix is competing with Apple, and so on and so forth. And we've spoken about this in the past also with Netflix. I think the problem with Netflix, and the reason we've never invested in Netflix, is that Netflix gave up that software train and became a media company. And you can see that with the hires they have, the key company, the key people in the company, all that stuff. Netflix has morphed into a media company, which is their choice. They probably had to do it at a certain point. The problem is, once you give up the tech first, the software first type culture, then you also start going into the valuation metrics of traditional media companies. And this is what's happening right now with Netflix stock. Let's get back to Tesla. Now, if we look at Tesla and say, okay, Tesla is going to compete with Spotify on the music streaming business, are they therefore becoming a music company? Of course not, because Spotify themselves are, at least for now, still a software company. Now, Spotify is making the mistake, I think, already trying to go into original content, because that's what you have to do as a streaming service, because your mouth is very small and you don't have that ability to really outperform your competition. Let's say, what's the difference between Apple Music and Spotify? It's zilch. So in that sense, the only way you can compete is by having original content. I think it's the wrong way to do it. I think what you should do, as you know, if I'm whatever his name is, the founder, the CEO, Elk, I think is his last name. I'm trying to say, okay, if I'm software first, if I'm AI first, what are the problems I can attack? And I think, again, recommendation will be one, quality of service another one. Those sort of things should be on the front of my thinking. If there are no other problems I can attack with software, then maybe I should sell the company, because if I start morphing into a media company, I don't think that's a good idea. So in that sense, I think Tesla now is in the position more like Apple, where they can say, look, it's a software problem. We're just, because we're a software company first and foremost, we're a software integrated into hardware type company, we can just integrate this part of the business also into our hardware. What that means is, first and foremost, of course, you have a much better quality on the UI and the reception, and you can work, and obviously Tesla is working on things like Starlink, where maybe you can also have a certain service that allows you to receive music a lot better, a lot faster in remote areas, which for transportation service companies is a big deal, of course, because you are, by definition, in remote areas many times. I think Tesla can work on the AI part of things. Now, the AI that Tesla is working on right now is more vision-based, and then the decision-making in driving, which is probably not exactly the same type of problem that you have in recommending media companies, but, media content. But again, there could be overlaps. There could be cross-learning, or what's the word? Transfer learning. What I'm saying is, as long as you keep the domain within the space of technology, in particular software and AI, I think Tesla should be attacking it. If the domain starts shifting towards media, if the domain starts shifting towards, do I have Joe Rogan on my podcast, or do I have XYZ on my podcast, then it becomes, I think, fluffy. It's not good. And from a Tesla perspective, you can still say, well, I'm just going to add Spotify to my service for people who want to listen to Joe Rogan, but I'm going to have my own music service. I'm going to have my own X and my own Y and all that stuff. Now, of course, Spotify is trying to do what I call predatory capitalism, which is they love to get all the talent onto their platform, so you're forced to use them. I think that is a bad business model. It's kind of the Marushi-san business model, where the Uber idea, where you go out, you lower the price, you dominate the market, and then once you are the only one in the market, you just raise the price. I think that is maybe at this point probably could be even considered illegal. It's from a legal perspective not clear, but it's certainly extremely bad for innovation. It's extremely bad for all the other things that we care about here at Orange Capital Partners. So if we look at the dynamics now, let's say, what does that mean for us investors? Let's say if you're an investor at Tesla, okay, is this a good thing or a bad thing? First and foremost, I think it's a good thing because it shows there's a vector here that Tesla can go after with software, with integrating a streaming service into the operating system of the car, is certainly solving certain problems. One is, like I said, quality, probably also some of the personalization factors that can be actually important. You don't want to, every time you sit in the car, think about, well, where is the one what did I just listen to yesterday? I liked it, I didn't like it. Maybe the car can learn what you're actually listening to, and within your profile, you also have your own music. Those are small things. They're not the kind of problems that Tesla is actually typically known for solving, which are much bigger problems, changing the transportation system, getting away from fossil fuels. But they help. I call this sort of the little convenience factor that adds up, and this is what makes Apple so strong. It's the little convenience factor, the fact that I'm within the iOS system, that I have, that I don't have to, when I buy a new iPhone, everything is in the iCloud, and all these kinds of things. There are small things. Of course, I could switch to Android. Of course, I could use another service and just port everything into there, but it's just a little bit easier, a little bit faster, and those things make a difference. So I think for Tesla, it helps them capture the customer and keep the customer. Not that they need Spotify to keep the customer. I mean, if we were at that point, I think Tesla would have a problem. The cars and the performance and all the other services Tesla offers are still way more important than a streaming service they have on their platform. But nevertheless, we shouldn't underestimate. Those are, again, little vectors. They keep adding up. The culture of the company has to stay technology first, software first, AI first. If I have that kind of culture and I start solving problems along those types of vectors, then it doesn't really matter what the domain is. Is the domain self-driving? Is it streaming? Is it other things, gaming? I think that's not so important. And I think to finish this episode, I just want to reiterate our thesis on Tesla, which is that probably in the long run, Tesla will become a gaming company or an entertainment company. In the long run, if you really sort of play this out in a game theoretic framework or whatever you want, you will, and everything ends up in a type of entertainment company because you start solving all the nitty-gritty physical problems of real life. And once you solve all those nitty-gritty physical problems, you end up with entertainment. In other words, if I can deliver self-driving, if I can deliver a smooth experience in getting into a car, sitting there and driving from A to B, if that is smooth, if that is, I don't have to think about it, if that is infrastructure, if that is plumbing, if that is, I don't care anymore what the car is, I don't care where it's parked, I don't care what my car insurance is, all these things are gone. It's kind of like electricity or water, it's infrastructure. And that's where Tesla is heading. Transportation as a service where it's you don't even think, you don't care what the battery capacity is or the power of the motor or the horsepower, you don't care about any of that stuff. You just want to go from A to B in the best possible way, and Tesla is doing that. If you get to that point, then entertainment will be the differentiating factor. Tesla is, of course, very strong in gaming. I think this Spotify thing just shows that Tesla is very serious about entertainment, and I think they should be. But they should keep it as a software problem. That's very important. I don't want to see Tesla building studios in LA or things like that. I would not want to see that. Of course, things can change. There could be new types of entertainment, TikTok style, I don't know, whatever. Entertainment also is changing very fast as a domain. But the way we see it today, we wouldn't want Tesla to waste talent, time, or any kind of resources on entertainment content. But the delivery of the content is part of the problem set of Tesla. Thank you.